Hello and namaste. I'm Dr. Jyoti Agarwal, working as pediatrician at BP Koirala Institute of Health Sciences. I'll be talking about pneumonia today. Pneumonia is the most discussed topic today due to pandemic of coronavirus, which is continuing its spread across 210 countries with more than 3 million people affected and more than 2 lakh deaths. So I'll be talking about pneumonia, and the learning objective of today's presentation would be to define pneumonia, classify pneumonia, and I'll be talking about pathophysiology of pneumonia in detail and how does a pediatric pneumonia patient present to us. So starting with the definition, pneumonia it is an inflammatory process involving the lung parenchyma as per Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and it is inflammation with consolidation of parenchymal cells of the lung. So, seeing the epidemiology of the pneumonia, there are estimated more than 120 million cases of pneumonia that is reported all over the world in a year, and younger children under the age of 2 in the developing world accounts for around 80% of the pediatric deaths secondary to pneumonia. Prognosis of pneumonia is better in the developed world than the developing country, with fewer life claimed. Approximately one third to half of these cases lead to hospitalization, and the introduction of the pneumococcal vaccine has become a boom to decrease the risks of pneumonia across the world. And still, the pneumonia is a substantial cause of morbidity and mortality in childhood throughout the world. And as per I said that immunization has a greater impact on incidence of pneumonia caused by the pertussis, diphtheria, measles, Hib, and Streptococcus pneumoniae. And BCG for tuberculosis also has a significant impact. More than 4 million deaths occurs each year in the developing countries are due to acute respiratory tract infection. The incidence of pneumonia is more than 10 folds higher in developing world compared to the developed world. And this slides also depicts the same thing, that childhood pneumonia in low and middle income countries, here still the pneumonia continue to be the leading cause of morbidity for young children outside the neonatal period. If we classify pneumonia, anatomically we classify it as lobar or lobular pneumonia and bronchopneumonia, and third is the interstitial pneumonia. And let's see the picture. Here we can easily see that in the lobar pneumonia, all or a part of the lobe is involved. In bronchopneumonia, we can see that there is a scattered lobules involvement is there. And the same is there in the X-ray picture. Here we can easily make it out that there is a lobe of the lung is involved. But in case of in lobar pneumonia, the lobe of the lung is involved. In bronchopneumonia, there is a scattered patchy infiltrations. That is a bronchopneumonia. The same thing, the consolidation involves all or part of the lobe is a lobar pneumonia. Either the consolidation involving the scattered lobule, the bronchopneumonia, and the interstitial pneumonia, as in the viral pneumonia, where inflammatory infiltrates involve between the interstitial tissues between the alveoli. So we can see here the COVID, the most discussed topic nowadays, COVID-19. So you can see that so there is a ground glass appearance, and this is the viral pneumonia. The same in the interstitial pneumonia, we can see here there is a involvement of the interstitium between the alveoli. If you see the etiological classification of the pneumonia, it has been classified as viral, bacterial, fungal, and we even classify as a atypical pneumonia. Viral pneumonia, COVID-19 is the most commonly discussed pneumonia nowadays, caused by the coronavirus, and that is leading to the symptoms from asymptomatic presentation to severe respiratory illness. I'll be talking about individual viral, bacterial, and fungal pneumonia in detail in further slides, and I'll be talking about this primary atypical pneumonia. We also call it as a walking pneumonia. It is caused by Mycoplasma pneumoniae, Chlamydia pneumoniae, and Legionella pneumoniae. So if we see the age group wise classification and the common pathogen involving the age group of the pneumonia, in newborn, E. coli, group B streptococcus, staphylococcus, Klebsiella, and Pseudomonas are the common pathogen involving in the newborn, and in the age group of 1 to 3 months, chlamydia trachomatis, respiratory syncytial virus, and other respiratory viruses are the common pathogens. And similarly, in the age group of 3 to 12 months, RSV virus, Staph aureus, Streptococcus pneumoniae, H. influenzae, Chlamydia trachomatis, and Mycoplasma pneumoniae are the common pathogens leading to pneumonia in this age group. In the age group of 2 to 5 years, the common pathogens are respiratory viruses and the Streptococcus pneumoniae, H. influenzae, and Mycoplasma pneumoniae, and the Chlamydia pneumoniae. And in the age group of more than 5 years, here also Mycoplasma pneumoniae, Streptococcus pneumoniae, Chlamydia pneumoniae, H. influenza, and influenza viruses and other respiratory viruses and adenoviruses are the common causes of the common pathogens leading to pneumonia. Now let's see this slides depicting the how the aspiration pneumonia occurs in a child. So suppose if the child aspirate French fries, initially he gags and then cough and then he takes out the French fries out. But if the reflexes are compromised because of some conditions, like if the child swallowing reflex there is some problem with the swallowing issues, like in case of myopathies, in case of cerebral palsies, in case of a brain injury, or if the child is on certain drugs. So in those cases, the reflexes are compromised and the child can have aspiration pneumonia. And after the aspiration there will be inflammatory changes and that lead to pneumonia. So now talking about the pathogenesis of pneumonia, initially when we inhale the microbes along with air, so our protective mechanisms come into play. So you can see in this slide the white blood cell, protein, fluids, and red blood cells, they come and the inflammatory response starts. So further, after the inflammatory response is initiated, alveolar edema and exudate formation occurs, and alveoli and respiratory bronchioles fill with serous exudates, blood cells, fibrin, and bacteria. This would lead to consolidation of the lung tissue. So you can make it out through this slide. And now talking about the stages of pneumonia. In low-borne pneumonia, usually we have 4 stages. One is congestion, second is red hepatization, gray hepatization, and resolution. And low-borne pneumonia, when there is a consolidation of whole lung, it is caused by the Streptococcus pneumoniae. And talking about the stages, initial first 2 stages we call, in first stage congestion usually occur on day 1 and 2, and the blood vessel and alveoli is filled with excess fluid, and this is followed by the red hepatization that occurs on day 3 and 4, and here the exudates are filled. These exudates, they fill the air spaces, making them more solid, and it gives the appearance of the liver like appearance. This is followed by the gray hepatization that occurs on day 5 to 7, and still here the liver is firm, but because of the presence of RBC in exudates, it break down and that lead to gray color, and that is called the gray hepatization. This is followed by the resolution stage. Here in resolution, this occurs on day 8 to 3 weeks. Here the exudates that is digested, ingested, and coughed out. So these are the 4 stages of pneumonia. So now I'll be talking about what are the common risk factors that can lead to pneumonia. Low birth weight, undernutrition, lack of breastfeeding. All these 3 risk factors can lead to compromised immune system that can lead to pneumonia. Passive smoking. We know passive smokers are one of the greatest risk factor of pneumonia. Poor socioeconomic status, that is also related to the malnutrition, undernutrition, and leading to your compromised immune system. Large family size, overcrowding, and when the family size is large, when there is overcrowding, one is the issue of the undernutrition, the other issue is because of the overcrowding, because respiratory illnesses are more in case of overcrowded spaces. Family history of bronchitis, outdoor and indoor air pollution, these all are the common risk factors of pneumonia. Other risk factor, if discussing on other risk factor, gastroesophageal reflux, this lead to recurrent pneumonia, neurological impairment, immunocompromised state, when the child is on the child are on chronic drugs, they are on chronic illnesses and are on drugs for the long time. Anatomic abnormalities of the respiratory tract. There is a residence in residential care facilities for handicapped children, Hospitalization, especially in an ICU or requiring invasive procedure, that can also lead to pneumonia. HIV is one of the conditions where the immune system is compromised, and these pre-existing illnesses can also lead to pneumonias. And delayed in vaccination, like measles vaccination and other vaccination, can also lead to pneumonia. So the most important thing what I want to depict through this slide is pneumonia is a clinical diagnosis. Okay, that should take into consideration the history. History is very important of the present illness. Physical examination finding, that is also very important, and adjunct testing and imaging modalities if needed. So it's a clinical diagnosis. Now moving on to the history. As per clinician, we know history has its most important part to play to make a diagnosis of any condition. So age is very important. Then the presence of cough, difficulty in breathing, shortness of breath, chest pain and fever. These are the common symptoms with which the child present to us. Recurrent recent upper respiratory tract infection, if it is there, then we have to think that it can also lead to pneumonia. Any associated symptoms, any rashes over the body, bluish discoloration of the body, so we have to take those history also. And the duration of symptoms are very important. If the cough is present for more than 2 weeks, that suggests that okay, mycobacterium tuberculosis could be one of the reasons leading to pneumonia. And immunization status is important, if the child is being immunized or not. And TB exposure, if the child is being exposed to a patient of tuberculosis, is also very important. Choking episode, if the child, there is a recent history of choking, then that suggests that okay, this could be a aspiration pneumonia or foreign body aspiration. Previous episodes of if the child is having this previous episodes, similar episode, that is also very important history, or previous use of antibiotic. Travel history, now the when with the pandemic of COVID, we can see travel history is so important. That can lead to that is very important. Whenever we are taking a history, daycare attendance, because of the when we send our children to daycare, so we have to be that also is very important history. Animal exposures, okay, when if the child is been exposed to any animals in the farms, any pet animals, that is also very important history. Any ill contact, past medication, if the child is on any chronic drugs in the past for any chronic illnesses, we have to even take that history in detail. Birth history is important, from starting from the birth weight till and I talked about the risk factor, if the child has was been on mother's breastfeeding exclusive for 6 months or not, that is all, these histories are also been should be taken in detail. Medication, I talked about, if the child is on any medication at moment. Allergies and home environment. Allergies history, like the child has been allergic to certain food, certain drugs. If a child is any like insect allergies, so we have to have a detailed history about the allergies also. So social history and family history, the family, other family members are suffering from any respiratory illnesses, if there are any chronic illnesses in the family, these history are also be taken in detail. Now the clinical manifestation. So age is a determinant in the clinical manifestation of pneumonia. So neonates may have fever only with a subtle or no physical findings of pneumonia. They can present to us with irritability, refusal to feed, or excessive crying. These could be the features the neonate can present with. The typical pattern of viral and bacterial pneumonia usually differ between older infants and children. So this should always be kept in our mind. Now coming on to the how the child presents with pneumonia. So they can have fever, with high grade fever, with chills and rigor. They will be tachypneic. Mother may give you the history that there is a difficulty in breathing, or they are breathing very fast. They can cough, because cough can be productive or non-productive cough. Malaise, there will be body ache, child will be having malaise, that history is also very important. Pleuritic chest pain, child can have pain while breathing, and there can be chest pain. We get usually pleuritic chest pain in older children. And We have to ask about if the child is having difficulty in the breathing, in the form of if there is indrawing of the chest or nasal flaring. The mother can give you the typical history. And apprehension and difficult because of the difficulty breathing or shortness of breath. So these histories are very important. So these symptoms are very important. Child can present with these symptoms. In older children, as per I said, that chest pain and shortness of breath are more predominant symptoms. So viral pneumonias are associated with more often with cough, wheezing, stridor. Fever is less prominent than with a bacterial pneumonia. So bacterial pneumonia typically are associated with high fever with chills in the rigor, cough, dyspnea, and auscultatory finding of lung consultation will be there in case of bacterial pneumonia. And afebrile pneumonia in young infants is characterized by tachypnea, cough, there will be crackles on auscultation, and often concomitant with chlamydia conjunctivitis. So what will be the recognition of signs of pneumonia? So first is the tachypnea. Child will have increase in the respiratory rate. So there are certain cutoffs for the respiratory rate with the age group. So tachypnea, the most sensitive and specific sign of pneumonia in the age group of less than 2 months, respiratory rate more than 60. We have kept this cutoff, that is we call it as pneumonia. And 2 to 12 months more than 50 respiratory rate, 12 months to 5 years more than 40, and greater than 5 years more than 20. And can you see the chest in drawing over here? So this suggests the signs of severe respiratory distress. So lower chest in drawing will be there. So nasal flaring, can you make out from this slide? There will be nasal flaring. So first we have to see for the respiratory rate for 1 minute, as I said. Then we have to go for, as we do, inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Your respiratory rates are high, they are chest indrawing, and the nasal flaring, use of accessory muscles is to be seen, and then we palpate for the vocal fermeters. If there is underlying consolidation, your vocal fermeters will be increased. Then we percuss. If there is underlying consolidation, we'll get dullness on percussion. And on auscultation, we see there will be decrease on auscultation. There can be bronchial breath sound or decreased air entry. So on the, if you see in the older children, examination will show dimness movement on the affected side, dullness on percussion, bronchial breathing can be there, and there can be moist veins, or we call it crepitation on resolution. But we may not get all these typical finding in the younger infants. So now we should be knowing when to hospitalize a child with pneumonia, because all the pneumonia cases we don't need to hospitalize. We can manage them at home with a lot of fluids and the proper antibiotic. So age less than 6 months. So if the age of the child is less than 6 months, we have to hospitalize the child. And if the child is having sickle cell anemia with acute chest syndrome, this also become one of the indication to admit the child and treat in hospital. And if you do the x-ray, because I told you it's a clinical diagnosis, okay, if the child is stable, and if we do the x-ray, in the x-ray, if there is a single lobe involved, we can try with the oral antibiotic. We don't need to admit the child. But if there are multiple lobe involved, in those scenarios we have to admit and treat with the injectable drugs. Immunocompromised state, if the child is having underlying immunocompromised state, then we have to admit the child. If the child seems to be very toxic, sick looking, in those scenarios also we have to admit. Toxic appearance suggests that the child may be having a bacterial pneumonia, or the child may have multi-organ dysfunction. So we should be very careful. So in those scenarios we have to admit the child. Severe respiratory distress. So I have shown you the cutoff of the respiratory rate. If the respiratory rate is more than the cutoff, then in those scenarios also it's better if we have to admit the child. Requirement of supplemental oxygen, when we have to start the supplemental oxygen in the form of food box, nasal prongs, or we have to ventilate the child, we have to admit. If the child is dehydration, that also become one of the indication to admit the child. If the child is not taking oral drugs, if the child is vomiting out everything, is not taking the oral drugs, then also we have to admit and treat with the injectable drugs. If the child does not respond to the oral antibiotic, if suppose we have treated with one course of antibiotic, but still the child symptoms are same, or there is a worsening of symptoms, in those scenario also we should admit and treat with the injectable drugs. Non-compliant parents, that become also one of the indication to admit the child. When the child comes to us with the symptoms of fever, cough, shortness of breath, we get confused. Is it a pediatric bronchitis or pneumonia? So what are the main differences? So I want to make it clear that the differentiating the two conditions can have very similar presentation. So it is very difficult to differentiate pediatric bronchitis from pneumonia. So bronchitis is the infection and subsequent inflammation of the bronchial tubes which carry air to and from the lungs. And pneumonia is also the inflammation of the alveoli, tiny air sacs inside the lungs. So under certain conditions, bronchitis can develop into pneumonia. So the other question is the pediatric pneumonia contagious? Yes, the pediatric pneumonia is contagious because it is caused by viruses, bacteria, fungi, and many other microbes that lead to pediatric pneumonia. So they spread from person to person. The best way to prevent a child developing pneumonia is to first is vaccination, because we have seen that vaccination has decreased the number of the decreased the incidence of the pneumonia. The second thing, we have to practice the good hygiene, such as regular washing the hand and covering the mouth and while sneezing. The same thing we are seeing in the COVID-19. We have to practice a good hygiene, washing hand and covering the face while sneezing. Now to summarize, so as I said that pneumonia is a clinical diagnosis. So we have to always take a proper history. We have to go for good physical examination, and then we have to have adjunct testing and imaging modalities as per the need. So whenever child comes to us who is breathing very hard, who is having difficulty in breathing very quickly, and so now to summarize today's presentation, so pneumonia, as per I said that it's a clinical diagnosis. So we should have a proper history. We have to have a proper physical examination and add on adjunct testing and imaging modalities as per the need. So whenever a child comes to us who is breathing very hard to breath and who is breathing quickly, so we always have to have a chest x-ray, and we should go for a proper physical examination. And on examination, if the child is having use of accessory muscle, and then on the auscultation, if there is a bronchial breath sound or decreased air entry, then and when we get a inspiratory crackers, then we have to think, okay, the child is having pneumonia. And then accordingly, on the basis of the clinical presentation and on the basis of the x-ray finding, then we can decide to hospitalize the child, or we can treat the child on the OPD basis with proper fluid management, with proper antibiotics. Thank you.